Hi, I'm Catherine Mora. I'm a book coach and I work with coaches, speakers, and aspiring thought leaders to help them write beautiful books. Today's topic is about offshore printing. I've been asked about this one because there is the assumption that if you print it offshore, it's going to be cheaper. Now, that is true, and it also isn't necessarily the case. So, if to print offshore somewhere like China, basically you need to be printing about 1,000 books for it to be worth it, and usually for them even to consider it. So these big factories, printing factories in China, aren't interested in your little sort of 50, 100, 200 books, that sort of thing. They're looking for orders of 1,000 or more as generally. So when you are printing locally, of course, economies of scale are always an issue. If you're printing 50 or 100 books, the cost per book is going to be quite a lot higher. So in Brisbane, for example, printing 100 books, black and white, just sort of text only, or even if there's graphics, it would only be just, grayscale graphics, and maybe 200 pages, so up to about 50,000 words, something like that. You're going to be looking at, $800 to $1,000, just depending on a few of those details and depending on where you're going. So basically your book's going to cost you anywhere from, $7.80, $8 through to $10. It sort of, as I said, varies and depends on a number of things. If you are getting a lot more printed, then it's quite different because the price goes down as you get more. I had 1,500 books printed once, and it was only about, I think, $3 something per book. Like, it can jump down in price per unit quite dramatically, but obviously there's a big difference between printing 100 and printing 1,500. So the only time I do print overseas is when my client is overseas. So wherever my client is, I try and get the book printed locally to them, because another thing to consider is that when you're printing overseas, you've got shipping costs and perhaps customs duties, things like that, that can really negate the savings on the actual printing costs. So do consider that. What note have I got here? Oh, there might be an exception. Say, for example, you're a speaker and you travel around speaking. Perhaps you have a couple of contacts or an agent or a manager or some sort of colleague overseas. You might be able to get some printed and get them to hold them, because when you're traveling and speaking, carrying, if you were speaking at a conference with 1,500 people, how are you going to carry all the books with you if you're going to give them away at the conference, that sort of thing, or sell them, or what, depending on what your arrangement is with the conference organizers. So there are times in which you might want to get something printed overseas but actually leave them there with some sort of arrangement, or you might get them printed and sent straight to the venue if you can work out the timing. That might be a bit tricky. So basically, printing overseas, it only works in very large quantities. Keep in mind, many authors sell less than 100 books unless they're organized with a strategy and they're using the book as a tool in that strategic way with their business. You don't want 500 books sitting in your garage, because that doesn't help anybody and it's just a big waste of money. I actually encourage my clients not to, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose today again. I encourage my clients not to actually print books unless they need to. Maybe you get 20 printed so that you can kind of take a couple with you and keep some and give some to your family and a couple of your clients or something. But essentially you just get print on demand books so that the end reader is paying for the print and you're not paying up front for a whole lot of books. So there are lots of different options available to you. Happy to discuss that if you want to work on a book. And I'm here for you for questions. Just comment below, send me a PM. I'd be happy to arrange a chat with you about your book idea and if it's the right thing for you to do right now. And until the next video, be good.